Mitchell, how are you? And we're going to talk about the book that started it all. How many years ago was that book?
1996.
Wow. Okay. So in 96, what made you come up with this idea for this book?
The actual inspiration for the book was a Daredevil comic. I don't know if you're familiar with Daredevil for the Marvel,
Okay. Yeah.
but in there he is a superhero, but he happened to be dating a girl that is an assassin, and Bullseye, his nemesis, ends up killing her, and so he fights Bullseye. Bullseye gets paralyzed, and so he starts. And the fact the title of that one comic was searching for his soul. And so he goes in there and he has Bullseye paralyzed in the bed, and he starts to play Russian roulette with him, knowing that Bullseye can't fight back. So he's torn between wanting to end it all, knowing that he's a superhero, or taking the revenge, which would negate who he is. And so I took that, and that kind of leaped into the world of an assassin. And as a Christian, my thought was, who's too far, or is anyone too far for God to reach? And hopefully that answer is no. And so that was where I started building this whole story.
Oh, wow. And very interesting. So kind of mixing the real world and the fantasy world,
Correct.
just like you did with your other series.
Right. I kind of on the inner side with everything. So there's a little bit of a mix with everything I do. But this one is, you start with Graham. And so I wanted to start kind of that same situation with, he found the person who killed his parents, and it pieced the story together as he, pointed at his head, as he pointed at the other person's head, back and forth. The story would go with the past, the present, the past, the present, the past, the present, until you finally find that bullet, that last chamber.
Wow. And when you wrote that first book, did you ever think that now to the point you are now as a published author from the beginning when you started to now?
Well, when I was young and naive, I just thought someone would pick it right up for a movie. It'd be great. And so that's how I thought. I would be publishing 30,000 books and be on a bestseller list. And then reality hit me that the chances of that are very, very, very slim. So I
Okay.
used to think a lot of things, yes.
That's usually how it works in so many ways. So let's kind of go into like the character development for this book. Like,
Okay.
how did you come up with them? You remember you talked about it was more like your friends for the other series.
Right. Well, I wanted Graham to be a likable guy, someone that you wouldn't consider, it wouldn't even wildest dreams think of him being an assassin, doing that in his life. And so he carried on, and it was just a job for him to do. And what he did was that, so once I developed that, where he starts to get a conscience, that's where he starts having difficulty doing his job. He's considered the best of the association, or the uh, organization. And so he does what's called zero retribution. All of his hits have to be such that you wouldn't even question the death. Like for one scene I did was using food allergies. And so he injects the allergen into something that this person, milk that this person would take every night to go sleep. And so it's peanut oil. And as he heats it up, it, congeals together, and then he drinks it, and then he's already discharged all of his EpiPens and his inhalers. So the guy just ends up dying of food allergy reaction.
Wow. I mean, that's uh quite interesting that you come up with this and then you develop this. And then did you develop once your first book came out? Did you get the feedback that got you this mindset? I'm going to keep writing more books.
Yeah, I did. I got, I think I ended up selling about 500, 600 of these. And when, doing it by myself, publishing back then, where there wasn't as much online that you could do as you can today. So that was pretty good feedback for me. And I got, 4 and 5 stars. I'm consistently getting that with all my books. So it's a matter of getting it out there rather than tweaking the story, I think, at this point.
And then with a publisher, that's the big thing. And so Abby developed because of this, right? from this first book?
Yes. She wasn't in the original draft, which when it came out as Crossing the Line, but in the revision, when I got to put it out like I wanted to, inserted her in there. And so that was another complication where he falls in love. And not only is she a police officer and he's an assassin, but she's a Christian and here he is with no conscience. And so that's how the injection of a conscience comes into Graham's life, where by the point in time where he finally finds out who has killed his parents, he's not sure whether he can exact the revenge.
So Graham, in a lot of ways, is developed basically, that you find out about Graham, which you can't give away, to leading to Abby. So
Right.
you learn more and more about the character Abby in the book Scales of Justice, but ultimately, how many of the fans of Scales of Justice are excited about Abby moving forward?
Quite a few. So, but she's going to be tweaked. I've told them that, it's the original background, that story that I had for her, I'm no longer doing. So I made it more complex. That she had been abused by a father who was a missionary, and he criticized her in such a deep way and kicked her out and disowned her. And so she had to end up living on her own. And then the stories that she goes through and the life that she lives just to survive. And that's the hidden past that starts getting peeled away, within the first 6 books of the series for Abbey Roads.
Fantastic stuff. Always fun to talk about the podcast and where we're going. As an author who's published now, after working his butt off to get published, what tips would you offer authors that want to be published? Say, hey, they keep trying in the self-published route. What do you do to get published?
You just got to keep at it. It's tenacity more than anything. And so don't take no. If that's what you feel called to do and that's what you want to do, you just keep writing. Write for yourself. And then if you want to get others, my whole desire is to have people converse with me about the books, ask me questions and dialogue, and I get to hear what they think about certain things to see if they find the symbolism that I put in there. But just keep persistent, keep at it, and you will find it takes so long to find either an agent or find a publisher that'll take a chance on you, but you've got to keep doing it. And then you listen to stories like John Grisham, who ended up selling Time to Kill out of the trunk of his car for so many years, and that ends up being what I think is his best work.
All right. Best place to go, Mitchell's where?
Is you can find it on Amazon, or you can go to my website, mitchellscarnesauthor.com, and you'll have the links to all of those.
All right. Thanks again, Mitchell. Appreciate it.
All right. You have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show in the